What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. Some crazy shit's happening right now. 4 cards banned from Commander, no longer allowed to be played. So let's get into what those cards are and my opinion on them, because I have 2 drastically different opinions whether I'm playing EDH or CEDH. The EDH player in me is like, I didn't play those cards anyway, and the CEDH player in me is screaming right now. So let's get into what they banned. The first card, not really a surprise, they banned Nadu. Nadu was a design mistake at conception. The lead designer of Modern Horizons 3 even said that, and it's not hard to see why they banned it. This is basically Paradox Engine on a card. The way you win is non-deterministic, and you could throw it in any Simic deck as long as you're playing Lightning Greaves, which you probably are. So that one's banned. I'm not really too concerned about that, and I bet a lot of people saw that coming. The next card they're banning here is going to give away their overall goal with these bannings, and it's going to feel like Nadu just got roped in here, which is kind of what happened. But they're going to ban Mana Crypt, which is insane, and they could not have made this decision lightly, because this is going to affect the value of a ton of players' collections. A lot of Commander players own this card. Now, the reasoning behind it was they're trying to slow down the pace of a casual Commander game, and I will say, in my comment sections, I've seen a lot of players being like, hey, it's just another copy of Sol Ring. If I'm able to run Sol Ring, why should I not be able to run Mana Crypt? And I see where you're going with the argument, but the problem is in redundancy. Once you start adding more fast mana to your deck, you're going to make your deck faster more consistently. So they're trying to slow down and get rid of those explosive starts at the beginning to make games feel like they were a non-game, right? Everybody's played against that player that goes ahead and they play their Mana Crypt into their Signet, then they have a land, and maybe they ramp again on turn 2, and then out of nowhere this guy has a plethora of mana and explodes and wins the game, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot you can do to stop him. And it really doesn't feel like you played Magic either. It kind of feels like you watch that guy combo off really fast with a bunch of fast mana, which is why I don't include any fast mana in my decks personally, and I only save my fast mana for CEDH. But let's be honest, the lines are blurred. Some casual players do play Mana Crypt in almost every deck because it can go in every deck. So it creates a scenario where half the community is like, hey, fast mana is not okay, and the other half of the community says, it's just a copy of Sol Ring, why is it not okay? I own the card, I want to play it. So the rules committee's putting their foot down and saying, hey, this is not what we want in the format. Sticking on theme with slowing down the format, they're banning Jeweled Lotus. Now, I can kind of see the rationale here. Again, they're just trying to stop those explosive starts where the game seems one-sided. And I think this is going to help out the casual community, not CEDH, but we'll get onto that later, because I've seen it a lot, right? Someone plays their Niv Mizzet Perun deck, they get that Jeweled Lotus opening, and the deck feels impossible to beat. Niv Mizzet comes down turn 3, maybe even turn 2, and then out of nowhere, you have a Niv Mizzet across the board, and they're just taking control of the game, and it feels like there's no way to beat them, and then they'll go infinite with Curiosity the very next turn, right? Feels super impressive, but maybe that deck's not that powerful. Maybe he just had a really good opening. The problem is the next time that player pulls out that deck, the players that played against it are going to treat it like it plays Niv Mizzet turn 2 or 3. So now it makes it to where that deck's threat level seems super high, but it's not really the deck's threat level that's super high. It's just Jeweled Lotus is super broken in that deck. And I've seen that argument before, and I thought about making a whole video topic on it, but kind of seems redundant now. The video topic was going to be, do cards have power level or do decks have power level? Because there seems to be a split there. Some people think decks have power level and it's okay to run Jeweled Lotus in decks that need it, and some people think cards have power level and they don't think Jeweled Lotus should be played in casual no matter what. And that's kind of what's happened. There's a gray line, right? Some people think it's okay, some people don't think it's okay, and again, I think that's why the rules committee is just putting their foot down here and banning some problematic cards. That way it's set in stone. They don't think it's okay in the format, and it's going to lead to less pub stompy games whenever you're playing against random players. You know, this kind of coincides with the Rule Zero conversation just not working these past couple years, so maybe this will help the casual format. Moving on to the last and final ban, this one's going to hurt the most, especially for CEDH players. They're banning Dockside Extortionist, and I can kind of see the rationale. Again, this card is broken. If you've ever cast it in casual, you're probably winning the game, right? The fact that you can sacrifice it and reanimate it makes the it's a ritual argument just null and void. It's not a ritual. It's a way to win the game. It combos with a plethora of things, and it's kind of like one of those cards like Underworld Breach. If you cast it, sometimes you just find a line that wasn't there that is now there since you have this plethora of mana. So again, some players justified putting it in their deck because the deck wasn't very strong, and they're like, Dockside Extortionist will buff this up a little bit. And other players are like, Dockside's just not okay in casual. And again, like I said, they're putting their foot down. They're making it clear that's not what they want here. They want the format to be slower. They want more interesting deck builds, and they want you to find a different way to get your commander out. Their words, not mine, right? Or I won't say their words, but that's kind of the gist I got of what their reasoning was. Now let's move on to what this means for CEDH, because this is crazy for CEDH, right? Mana Crypt goes in every deck, Dockside goes in every deck with red in it, and again, Jeweled Lotus goes in any deck where your commander can benefit from it. This straight up just kills a lot of my decks. Corvul, definitely not going to be as viable. Again, Jeweled Lotus and Dockside hurts that deck super hard. Voja gets killed almost right away because half of that deck's goal is to get Voja on the battlefield before our opponents get enough mana to pay for his ward ability. Paco Haldan, another deck that I love, also gets kind of shut down because Jeweled Lotus is very important there. I mean, it doesn't kill it, but it hurts it a lot, right? Especially when those decks don't have access to Dockside anymore. So I'll say this, if there was ever a point, and I'm not saying this should happen, but I'm saying if there was ever a point where CEDH decided to split off and become its own format, it's going to happen right here. They're banning a lot of staples here that CEDH community cares about, and yeah, I could see them saying like, hey, we just don't want to play by those rules. We like Dockside, because at the end of the day, Dockside's going to kill a lot of the off-meta decks. It's not going to hurt a lot of the meta decks. You know, Crom Timna is going to be fine. They're just going to sit back behind the Ristic Study and keep drawing a ton of cards. If you've played any CEDH in the past year, you'll be familiar with, you know, mid-range hell. And this is just going to help out mid-range hell. Banning Dockside is probably the best thing that could happen to mid-range, right? Now they can't explode and win out of nowhere. They don't have the mana to do it. So now you just sit back behind your Ristic Study, get all your counter magic, cast your silence, win the game. This is, again, probably going to hurt the CEDH community. I'm not seeing a benefit from it or where this would help them in any way, because again, they're trying to win as fast as possible in the, you know, most efficient way possible. And this bans a lot of the most efficient ways possible. And at the end of the day, there's just a lot of commanders built specifically around Dockside. And then again, Mana Crypt goes in every deck. Jeweled Lotus is in a lot of decks. You know, Nadu's just not a deck anymore. So I'm curious to see the reaction of the CEDH community, because as a CEDH player, I'm torn. I really don't like these bans from a CEDH standpoint. I really do like the Rule Zero conversation. I get the, you know, rules committee felt pressured. The community's been goading them to do something. They don't know what, but the community has been just very vocal of, hey, you don't feel there. You don't feel like you exist. What are you doing? And they did something, and I don't know. I'm torn on it. This is fresh, right? I just learned about this a couple hours ago. So, you know, leave your comments in the, you know, comment section. How do you guys feel about this? Are you guys gonna, you know, abide by it? Are you guys gonna Rule Zero, still playing your Docksides and your Mana Crypts? I'm really curious to see how the community takes it overall. With that being said, guys, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors. I'll see you in the next one.